Okay, friends, we why don't we operate in the middle? Let's jump in. Right, we're talking about the Rambam gave us a new definition, our final definition, not forever, but final definition of this long fall winter. So I think there are a bunch of reasons one doesn't operate in the middle, and it all relates to this thing that being a person of the Midah Beinonis is a Chacham. To get to many people don't realize this. And I remember my inspiration for this, I think, was something I heard from Rav Leichter and something I read in the Gra. So, and it could be Rav Leichter even said this directly, but to get to the middle means you understand and to a certain extent have conquered what we call the ksavos, the ends, right? People imagine, let's say Yaakov. Yaakov is just like a parv person, not too much Abram, not too much Yitzchak. So my understanding from what I got from Leichter, and again a little bit from the Quran Mishlei, was that no, Yaakov had all of the chesed of Avram, and Yaakov had all the gur of Yitzchak, and he brought it together. That's the point. It's not just like I'm not too hot, not too cold, like you say, just lukewarm. No, he's very, very hot and he's very cold, and that's what makes lukewarm. And the point you can't really truly get to the middle if you don't have those different things inside of you. So that's one reason people don't get to the middle because they misunderstand what the middle is. Another thing is emotions will push you to one side or the other. I feel emotionally connected to, let's say the Rambam talks about Pizor, right? Giving not too much and not too little, giving money where it needs to go. Well, I'm emotionally attached to this tzedakah, so I give all my money to this thing that was my emotions taking over. And now my chachma would tell me, well, give some money, but you have to save some money. A lot of people are going to ask you for money on Purim. If you give all your money to this first thing that comes along, just because your heartstrings are pulled, then you're not going to be giving to other people over Purim. So maybe if you decide that's what you want to do, okay. But just because you're emotionally pulled to it, so then you were like a pazran, and now you're out of it. Another thing is just some small mindedness pulls us to one side or the other, right? We don't have. I don't want to. This is important. I realize this that we don't. I don't want to be. I don't want to think about this in a wider way and be pulled. It's easier for me to just be more this or more that. It's easier for me as opposed to handling the middleness of Gashmias. Either I'm gonna, you know, I'll just be a parish. Let's say, not that there's anything wrong with being a parish. I'll just separate from everything. I won't get married. I won't engage with the physical world, etc. It's easier, but that's a small mindedness in a certain sense because you don't understand that Avodas Hashem is not going to be able to have a wife and to have a husband and have children and to deal with Gashmias and not just live in a state of austerity and denial, right? Which but that happens sometimes happens to Bali Tshuva, who sometimes feel guilty about their past. You'll see once in a while they'll just go to this austere place. I think that type of hadrach and chinuch Baruch Hashem is a lot less than it used to be. But I think in the earlier days of the Kier movement, you did have find people who were, and still today you find people who are kind of loony and you feel not mudrach. But that would be a good example. It's small mindedness, right? I mean, I heard something a rabbi said, etc. So it's not really understanding the whole picture. So those are a bunch of things. I don't realize where the middle is. I don't realize that the middle, one only gets to the middle from having a shaykhut to both ends. I emotionally am just pulled to side or the other. I am too small-minded to appreciate the other side. It's not my emotion. It's just I'm not really realming the other side. For Lamashal, I want to just explain a little bit more what I meant by the small-minded. Sometimes you can learn a topic a certain way, and let's say you say a Dvar Torah about it, and you don't want to hear the question on it, to be honest, because you don't want it to uproot your happiness. I remember I was discussing, I had a din v'dvarim with a friend one time, and we were talking about what happened, and he said, "Well, here's my interpretation of what happened." And he told me basically, like, just please just keep shut, shut up. He didn't say it that nice, said it nicely. Please just keep quiet. Like, let me just stay with my interpretation. He wanted to stay with his narrative. He didn't want to hear my poking holes at his narrative. It's like that sometimes. That's small-minded in a certain way. You're not really looking for the truth. You're looking for a narrative. So I have a certain shot which makes, for those who are into Gemara learning, the Gemara and Rashi Tosas makes sense now. Like, don't confuse me with the truth. Don't. I don't want to get to the middle. I want to be happy with this little local shot. I'm not going to open a Chazon Ish and see that someone else is thinking about this 10 steps ahead of me. I don't want to be confused by the truth. That's a certain small-mindedness. So now, Sometimes also we don't have the control to bring things to the middle, right? Okay, I get all that. I have the picture. I understand my emotions are at play. I understand chesed. I understand gvura. I understand this, but I can't control myself. I don't have the shlita satzmi. I don't have the self-discipline to bring things into the middle. And like we said, sometimes you don't have the knowledge to bring things into the middle. So from all this, that's why I was very, very happy with this Rambam. And Baruch Hashem, we found this. I don't remember how I found this exactly. I mean, it's a known Rambam. It's not like a big find. Everybody knows this Rambam. It's very, very famous in Parish Mishnayos also. It's not something we talk about so much, truthfully, in our Hashkafic Musar world today, Hasidic. This where the Midas Baininus doesn't get so much attention. But here's what I want to get to, friends, is I understand why this is a sign of wise man. You need a lot of wisdom to pull this off, right? In this whole picture. I have to understand what chesed is. I have to understand what kavura is. I have to understand what pazranas is, spending a lot of money. I have to understand what being cheaper is, right? I have to get that. I have to be able to see that, not just say, well, I'm just naturally this way. And now I have to also be in control of my emotions, and I have to not be small-minded, and I have to have this desire to bring it back into the middle. I have to bring it to the middle. So to really operate in this balanced way takes a lot of wisdom, a lot of wisdom. So we hear what the Rambam means when he says the Mida Bainis is the Mida the Chacham, to know and control the Ksovas and bring it into the middle. And I have to say, from the different definitions we've had of Chachma so far, this one I understand the best. Let me explain. Roas and Olad, I think Aaron even asked, like, why is that exactly Chacham? So I understand, like we discussed, why that's a Chacham, because it's a big part of Chacham that you can see what's going to develop, where things go. You have to be wise to see that. You have to be interested in seeing how the development, not just living in that, again, going away from your emotions. Where is this going to develop? If I say this to this person, what's going to come out from this? If I make this machlokas, where is it headed? If I uproot this thing, if I speak to this person strongly, if I make this move, what is Roas and Olad? How's it all going to happen? How's it all going to unfold for sure? Lomi Mikol Adam, or we understand that. Like Yerucham gave us a deeper perception of that. That's really where Chachma is, that you live in yourself with this Chachma. But still, at the end of the day, it feels a little like a detail. Shol Eitz is a Chacham. I understand why those things are all part of Chachma for sure. Like that, these are the things which are the defining factors of wisdom. It's interesting to me. This one, I don't necessarily see it as the defining factor either, to be honest. But I see that it's kolel a lot more. You hear what I'm saying? To me, to be able to get to the point where you have enough to be operating in the middle, I see that it takes a lot of wisdom, takes a lot of counsel, a lot of wisdom to be able to pull this off. Whereas something like Rosh and Olad, it seems to me like you train yourself, you can be Rosh and Olad. You show again, maybe we're missing the point. Each of this is a lot deeper, a lot more depth, right? Let's just say like this: from where we've gotten to, this is our 14th Vaad on this topic, I believe. So from where we've gotten to in these 3.5 months, 4 months. So my understanding is like this takes the most wisdom, and that's what I would say. Like, show late, so you have to decide, right? And I got it. Like that, part of the reason we did that for I think 3 weeks. Then we moved on. I wanted to move on, but also I think I got the message. Show late is, you gotta realize to be wise. You hear counsel from other people, like Rabbi said, you'll be lacking if you don't. And now go and train yourself to do that. The only thing in our 14 weeks, which parallels what I'm saying now, is the Rabbi Yerucham board about about Aizehu Chacham Halomi Mikol Adam. That was really a Midas Emet, the Midas Chacham in yourself. It wasn't the pu'ula of, it wasn't the action of learning from everybody. It was really the fact that that's like a sign or simon that you have Chacham in yourself. You're a wellspring of Chacham on your own. Like if everybody remembers the deep idea that Reuben said. So I'm happy we got to this. I think it's a big siyata d'shmaya that we got this at the end of this tkufa to see like this is a whole nother level of wisdom. I have to really understand like what is this mida? What is that mida? How do I bring them together myself? When do I apply it? When do I not apply it? Only then am I going to really be a midas baininus person. Let's take the chesed gvura example a little bit further, right? A person has to understand. You know what? Let's say I'm a naturally more verklempt person, more to myself, not as interested in others, not as giving. I know I have to give. It's one of the mudei olam chesed for sure, right? So now no, if I really want to hit the middle, I really have to understand chesed. Like, why is it so important? What makes about chesed? How be'etzem a person should be ready to give this shirt off his back and give all his money to another person. I could be like Avram. I could spend hours and hours and hours talking and spending time to makarv another yid or to take care of another yid. I can understand that even when I'm in the middle of work or learning or family time and a chesed comes my way, that I could really put everything down that I want to do and just be totally dedicated to this person for hours on end. I get that picture. I see that. And now you have one person who's never knows how to stand up to others. And he said, you know what, you have to have din in you also. Right. So besides the emotional push of all this, but there's like you have to now get din in you. What does that mean? I've never stood up to anybody. I mean, I don't stand up, I wouldn't stand up to a fly. I like everybody. I mean, I like that everybody likes me. I could never fire someone. I can never confront someone. I can never tell someone they're doing the wrong thing. I can never sit down and have that conversation with someone in the eye and say that they're not, pulling their weight. It's just not part of me. Well, but din means you can do that. Right? Din means that you can, I could never take part in a battle. I couldn't join the army, couldn't shoot someone. I mean, if I'm talking current events, for most of us, that doesn't come up. But Baruch Hashem, so many of our tzaddikim here in Eretz Yisrael, it is. They are there, reservists and others who are on the lines. But I couldn't do that. I'll be shmonim at a time. I'll be intelligence. But I can't take a gun. Let's not. That's a very strong example. But in general, right, that whole picture, I can't boss anybody around. I can't put my foot down. I can't tell my husband or my wife that it's a preference I have. Okay, but that's what din is, die. And I can't, and also I can't control myself. I can't stop myself from eating too much. I can't stop myself from watching too much. I can't stop myself from speaking too much. I can't say die to myself. I don't have that self-discipline, right? That's the other part of Gvura. So now, no, but you have to be able to imagine that and appreciate that and to see that and bring that into yourself. And then you're mazing them. And I know when chesed is necessary, and I know when din is necessary, and people can see in me chesed and din, and that's the middle part that I can go into shul and be friendly, but let's take a small example, right? Where did chesed and gvura come together? I go to shul, I come in with a nice countenance, I say shalom aleichem, but the clock for Psukim Zimmer is on, and Baruch Hu is in 13 minutes. Baruch Hu is in 15 minutes, and it's going to take me 2 minutes to put on my tefillin. And it takes me 12 and a half minutes to say good Psukim Zimra. So I said Shalom Aleichem to the person. They would like to keep talking to me, but now Din says it's now time to daven, right? Even though that guy would like to talk to me. My friend comes over to speak to me in shul, and I don't want to give him a bad feeling, but I don't want to talk in shul. So what do I do? That's it. So you see right there. And now, okay, but now, had to give my friend a little bit of a cold shoulder. But then the chesed of me says I run over to him right after davening and I inquire about him. You don't necessarily have to apologize. You didn't do the wrong thing. Maybe you want to apologize. You don't want to apologize. Okay, that's another question. But that's you're operating in that thing. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about. So I've already introduced. So the most famous, I think, definitely in our thinking today, where our Kabbalistically influenced Maral, Hasidus, Ramchal influence in the world, the most famous three that we deal with. The Rishonim spoke about Kilui and things like that, being cheap and spending a lot of money. So the ones we talk about the most are Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, definitely. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Avram being Chesed, Yitzchak being Gvura, Gvura's Yitzchak, Pachad Yitzchak, and Yaakov, of course, being Torah, being Tiferes. My friend Reb Zev Rubin actually showed me a phenomenal diak. Aaron, you like this? Yisoda Chasidus is Avram was Chesed. He's in the Chesed Avram. V'shorsh ha'avoda tmima. Avoda is Yitzchak. She's Baravis Amet, Emes is Yaakov. So he said it's pasha to him that the Ramchal put in the first line of no, it's not after the Hakdam, but the first line of the first parak of Mesilas Yesharim, he put in Abraham Yitzchak and Yaakov. He put in Chesed Ferris and then that's how famous it is. He just told me this word on Shabbos. So the person, so the very nice word. He said he checked around. He's called someone very knowledgeable. No one had heard this before. So Rabbi Zev Shlita told me this past Shabbos. Anyway, so I'm just showing you how famous the idea is. So maybe that's why it was in my head also. But Chesed Gvura Tiferes was a very famous idea, and we just discussed it, right? The Tiferes being the harmony, right? That's the now. Let's imagine ourselves, friends, again. That's the harmony of that experience in shul, right? You went to shul. And I was all din. I didn't smile. I didn't say hello. I didn't say for the Kiddush. I didn't say good Shabbos to anybody. Or I said a begrudging good Shabbos. I ran out right afterwards. I davened well. I got on some NCA Shmei Rab, etc. Made sure no one spoke to me. That was a din. I come into shul, chesed, all chesed. What? I come in, schmoozing. We've all seen these people, schmoozing, super friendly, right? Talking during shul, staying by the coffee corner for a very, very long time, wraps his tefillin really, really fast, isn't concentrating, speaks a little bit to his friend in the middle of shul. That's a chesed shul. That's a chesed shul experience. But now we see that that's not tiferes. There's no harmony in that. That's this. In both, there isn't a harmony. The harmony of the orchestra of a person's life would be that I have both, and I hope we all feel how it's difficult, right? And sometimes I know I can err on one side or the other, definitely, because maybe I was too tough. Maybe I should have been a little more friendly there. Maybe I should have stayed another minute in shul. Maybe I should have said more hello to the person before I put on my tefillin. Maybe I was too embarrassed to give the guy, just motion to him that I'll come back later. I heard someone make a mistake to increase the Torah. Again, it's shuls have different policies. Sometimes you should say, sometimes you shouldn't, sometimes it's the rub. But I heard a big mistake increase the Torah. I can't. I'm not the person to say that. Or I heard people talking in shul. That's a good example. No, it's not my business. It's not my business to ever say should to someone or someone. So one of my personal favorites is the guy comes late and he's everybody's saying Shemona Esrei and he's davening loudly to himself. No, 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 no. You came late. That's your business. Down the Kav's. But don't interrupt everybody who's davening. I don't mean really loud, obnoxiously loud. But he's like mumbling to himself, smart, whatever. The tzibur saying, "I think it's pasha to me." I don't know, it's pasha. No, when the tzibur says Shemona Esrei, it's time for everybody to be quiet. I mean, that's basic. There was one guy in the shul I used to daven. It drove me crazy. He was always late and he was always loud. I'm gonna make a bumper stick for him. Always late, always loud. No, 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 no. Always late, your business. Never loud. Always late, never loud. That's a good thing. Or they come late. Eventually, I think he got the message. He moved to the, a little like kind of a coffee corner. He came late and he wants down loud. Derech Eretz, Yef Hamod. But always late, always loud. Al, no, al, right? Not al. Always late, always loud. No, don't have it always late, always loud. So not, but I'm not going to be the one to shh him. Or if I'll shh him, it'll be a really nasty way. I remember my roommate, told me, my roommate in Reb Tzvi's, Zev, said to me one time, "You gave me such a nasty shh." I was sleeping, and he came in loudly. Made an effect on me. How do you give a shh? There's a tiferistic way to give a shh. I can't ever ask someone to be quiet, Or if I ask him, I'm going to be really tough. Why is he? No, that's too much din, too much chesed. So to bring it in is tough. So this is just explain. And now here's the point, friends. It takes a lot of chachma. The Meided Beinus is the Middos of Chachma because it takes a lot of Chachma. It takes a lot of Shlita, but I don't think we realize it takes a lot of Chachma also because I have to know, right? What is the proper way in shul? And then I have to put my midas underneath that Chachma and operate it. The proper way to go to shul is to be friendly, but davening is davening. And the proper way to go to shul is to quiet someone who is telling the truth or not to. I'm not judging every person's situation, but I know that if you aren't controlling those two different midas in your head, you're going to make the mistake because you'll never be able to deliver this or that, and you certainly be able to deliver them within 9 times. Theoretically, a person should be on the madrega. In the same second, he could turn to one person on his left and give a big shalom aleichem, and he could give a turn to the right and say shh to someone in a nice way. I'm sure the Rabbanim and Shul pull that off. My friend Eliezer Zobin, Shlita, dying Zobin. He's a dying today. Eliezer Zobin? Rabbi? He's a dying in England, B'chashav Mashpia. He was up for a very, very chashuv stellar, I think the Avodas Hashem it's called, and he made a condition with them. I don't know what they do, but he said, I'm not coming if I'm going to quiet people. If they talk during shul, I'm going to quiet people. And apparently he that his job was on that, and they followed suit. That's a Rav with guts, for sure. I'm sure he wanted that job. I'm sure. It's a chashuv job, and people don't realize how much Rabbanim want jobs. Rabbanim, when they apply for jobs, they want it. Just the rabbinic, the behind the scenes rabbinic world of yeshivas and Hasidus is full of it. Hopefully they're people doing it in a mechubad way, and they're respectful if they don't get. People as a Rav Rashi, today's Rav Rashi, the Ashkenazi Rav Rashi, just got it by the skin of his teeth. I know those stories, the skin of his teeth. Believe me, it was a big simcha when he got it. Very big simcha, and it was a big availus for the person who didn't get it. Rabbis are real people, and they want to do the right thing, etc. And they bring them. So no, but I'm not coming. If I can't quiet the tzibur when they're talking, I'm not coming. And he does a lot of chesed in the community. So that's the balance, Rav. Now my Rav never says anything. He makes everybody feel good. No, then your Rav's probably not getting a certain message across what you should be getting across. If it's all lovey-dovey all the time, people aren't going to grow. That's his din all the time. I remember a certain rabbi I used to see him. He used to come to in the summers to Telstein. I couldn't imagine how he could be a rabbi. He's so gruff. He's so stern. I wouldn't want to be in his shul. So how do you pull the ball? No, that's Tiferes. So what I want everybody to try. Yes, what's the question?
I'm confused by something. Why is the Mida Baininus not just Chacham all the time? In other words, why is a Chacham is somebody who's able to shekel the two kitzvahs, right?
Right.
So why Bechlal is there Mida Baininus, let's say in this case called Tiferes? Why isn't Yaakov just the Ish HaChacham? Why do you need a third Mida for everything? It's just
right,
no.
nice.
The Chacham is
Right.
always the middle thing.
That's a good question. But he's called Torah, right? That is called Torah. But that is
Yeah,
called
but
Torah.
Lafid Vereno is just be the Chacham is the solution for all the extremities.
Right. I think it might be called Chacham because you have to. Again, tell me your question again. Why isn't it called? Which way should it be called?
There shouldn't be Tiferes. There should just be how do you put together Gevura and how do you put together Gevura and Chesed? Chacham.
Nice.
How do you put together too much anger, too little anger?
Very
Chacham. No Mida Baininus, just the Chacham.
Right. Nice. I want to think about that. Very nice. So Chacham good? Why Tiferes? Very nice. Yeah, very nice question. Okay, Shkach, I want to think about it. Very nice. Thank you. Good question. Okay, so friends, here's the Kabbalah. This is really important. I'll tell everybody right now, right? Full disclosure. Next week, I'm going to try to give a sikkim of all we did in the last 14. No, nothing new. Just I don't think new. But so this last week we're going to be dealing with this. So dig in because I think it's very important to just misakim everything a little bit. And as I always advise in the Vaad, I'm already thinking myself and I already have a strong kibbun. Everybody should make a Kabbalah Shel Kayama that they continue with. We worked on a topic for 14 weeks, and it's good. It's given us a lot of exposure and a lot of good ideas, a lot of good methods and things we've touched, but without practically holding by something. I know it's been very significant to me. I think we made that switch about 2.5 years ago to somewhere along there, maybe 3 years ago to actually do something. So I think it's very important. So everybody should be thinking all of these things of Rosh and Olad and Shoal Eitzah and Mida Baininus and Lomi Kol Adam, and all the ideas have been discussed. Which one do you want to make some small Kabbalah you continue with for the rest of your life? Everybody should be thinking about that, and I'll give a summary next week to try to help that also, bring it home. But for this thing, I think everybody should work on this, right? Let's work on strengthening our tzavos, right? Do I have a good midas hadin in me? Do I have a good midas chesed in me? Right? Because, and do I know how to balance? Can I truly be dindik? Now, you might have if you have the opportunities, so go for it. If you don't have the opportunity, at least imagine yourself, right? Can I be a dindik person? Can I be a chesidik person? Can I really, really be chesidik, right? Now, could I right now? My wife is going to pick me up in 5 minutes, and I have to do things. But could I imagine myself right now? For me, could I imagine myself coming in and being really tough with the Talmud? if need be. Could I imagine myself sitting with a guy if he needed me for 3 hours right now? That's what it means. That's what I want everybody to imagine to work with, because we all have our own balance a little bit. I want to feel the I want to feel the endpoints a little bit more, right? Because we all have a lot of reasons. I'm not going to spend 3 hours with someone because my wife is picking me up and I have to learn tonight and I have to do other things, etc. So I'm not going to do that, and I have nobody to really be tough on in the yeshiva right now. So it doesn't. But right, but imagine yourselves. Just imagine. Could you, in you, is the Midas Adin really strong? Right? Is the Midas Chesed really strong? Okay. Look for opportunities, but at least in your mind, keep thinking about that. Can I bring home those two midas in this, most central in our lives, midas baininess? Just there's a lot more to work. The Ram is a whole life's work, but I think that's a good place for us to start thinking about this place. I think that's a good thing. Okay, and that's a good Kabbalah. I'm looking forward to really thinking about it. Now, could I? Can you? Could you imagine, telling your coworker or your client or your boss, I just want you to know, I thought a lot about what you're doing, and in a clear way, I think you're really making a very, very, very big mistake, and it's going to hurt the company, it's going to hurt you, and I love you, but it's not the way to do it. You're not shying away from that. I could really have that conversation and explain it and dig in, not back off, etc. Good. Person number one. Person number two, someone really needs you. And and if you didn't have other things around, you could sit with that person for 3 hours and be with them and be madrich them and whatever, just do whatever they wanted for 3 hours. Do we have that in ourselves? Let's try, let's see. Okay? And everyone should have a Shavua Tov, and we should continue to see Yeshua's from the Chamas. Great things like the war starting in a great way, should end in a great way. I have to go to England soon, so I want to attend in no, I'm just joking. That's called small-mindedness, but I do want to attend. But I wanted the job should get done. Someone said, "Let's make sure the war gets over." No, let's make sure the job gets done. But Be'ez Hashem, the job should get done. And the real job should get done, and we should see Mashiach Tzidkeinu. Amen.
Amen.